abbreviations in the Markdown package. Have fun.
Yeah.
You need this one too? Yes.
I think so, otherwise I won't be heard in the room.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Pinch the top, yeah. It's the down of that. Yeah, it's backwards.
So, good afternoon. I'm Vít, and in my talk I'm going to discuss some recent developments in the Markdown package for TeX, which are intended to make it easier for both editors and authors to mark up abbreviations. So let's just allow a little moment for the slides to show up.
Fast 3 Sekunden. Wolf.
So in traditional typography, abbreviations are not just shortened words, but typographic objects that call for special treatment. Here's an excerpt from Robert Brinkhurst, who recommends typesetting most abbreviations using spaced small caps, which is a convention I'll use throughout the slides. And in TeX, marking up abbreviations is often tedious and fragile, since once an abbreviation is introduced, authors must revisit earlier text and also remember to apply the same markup throughout the remainder of the document. And this talk presents new support for abbreviations in the Markdown package for TeX, which shifts abbreviation handling from a procedural to a more declarative model. So let's first talk about some of the requirements and the design. So the primary user interface is going to be a new option called acronyms, which is a comma list that lists all the different abbreviations that you want the Markdown package to know about. And that's going to implicitly produce acronym nodes for all occurrences of HTML and other abbreviations that turn up in your Markdown text. There's a number of questions to be answered, which will help to refine the requirements. So first, what should count as an occurrence? If HTML is listed, should we also match inside XHTML, HTML5, HTML-based, and so on? Should we automatically match plurals, such as such as APIs, if there is an API, and so on. So that's one question. Another question is if you list both HTML and HTML5 in your acronyms option, which one should we produce an acronym node for? Should it be the HTML or the HTML5? Also, Unicode normalization. Should we try to match differently normalized variants of an abbreviation or not? A big question is efficiency, because the acronyms, they don't have any special markup. They can appear anywhere in the text. So how are we going to do this efficiently, do this checking efficiently at almost every point? And also a question of boundaries, which is closely related to the first question, where do these can the abbreviations span multiple words? In addition to where can they start? Can they also be not just a single word, but multiple words. And we can answer those questions. So as for the first question, we decided that we should refuse the temptation to guess and have the editors list all the abbreviations explicitly, including the plurals, which is a bit more work, but it also reduces any false positive matches where we actually don't want an abbreviation. So, for example, you would need to explicitly list XHTML, HTML5, APIs, and so on. As for the longest matching, we would always match the longest possible abbreviation using a dynamically built PEG parser that encodes a prefix tree of all abbreviations and matches the longest possible abbreviation by default. So if you specified both HTML and HTML5, then we would produce an abbreviation node for the HTML5 one, which is what you would expect. As for the Unicode normalization, we just use what is already inside the Markdown package, and we use the pre-existing options for Unicode normalization to normalize both the text and the abbreviations provided in the acronyms option, so that we can match, so that they are both in the same format, and we can match them even if they are not in the same encoding initially. And as for the boundaries, we still require that an abbreviation must start and finish at word boundaries, but they can span multiple words. And that's also why we need a PEG parser for this, because if an abbreviation could be just a single word, then it would be easy, right? We would just check the following word and just look into a hash table. But here, we don't know how many words the abbreviation could possibly span, so we need something smarter. So those are the requirements and also the design for the feature. So let's have a look at some actual examples of the user interface. So this is how the editors could predefine some abbreviations. So first you load the Markdown package and you specify the acronyms that you want, and then you just type your text and the abbreviations are implicitly detected and can be formatted. By default, they produce this spaced small caps format. Alternatively, you could also import the acronyms from the glossaries package, which we support by default. So you just use the glossaries package, and the output is what you would expect. And if you're the author, you can also use explicit markup to mark up your acronyms, and they will get the same treatment as the ones which are predefined by the editors. What's also interesting is that you can mark up the abbreviations just once, and they will be correctly formatted throughout. This requires multiple compilations. So during the first compilation, this one would be formatted like an acronym. These two wouldn't, because this entire mark inline is done as a single invocation. So these two JSONs are they are not special, but during the evaluation of this, JSON is actually added to the acronyms option. So the next one is already formatted correctly in the first run, because when this mark inline is encountered, the option has already been updated. And in addition to updating the acronyms option, it also updates the .aux file. So in the next run, we know that JSON is an abbreviation from the beginning. So in the second run, we get this output as expected. So this is nice for the authors, because unlike in the example which you saw on the second slide, where you introduce an acronym and then you, or an abbreviation, and then you have to go through all the occurrences. It's sufficient if you mark one of the occurrences and the rest will follow automatically. So this reduces the potential for human error. So we've seen the design and the user interface. So now let's look at how it's implemented under the hood. So for example, the option acronyms and these 4 acronyms produces the following peg parser. In addition to this parser, you also need the actual abbreviation to be surrounded by punctuation, white space, or text boundaries, and it is applied to all plain text, including places where we don't usually allow markup, such as image titles. In Markdown, image titles are just plain text, no markup allowed, but for this option, we will also produce abbreviation nodes within the image title. And the implementation was kindly co-authored by my student, Andrej Genčur. As for importing from the glossaries package, we add each acronym text, such as HTML, to the option acronyms. We use an inverted index, which maps the text of the acronym back to the glossaries package label. And then whenever the acronym is encountered in the text, it's rendered as the short form of the acronym using the label, which is retrieved from the inverted index. So this happens by default when you just load the Markdown package, which preloads the default definitions for LaTeX. But if you disable this, there are good reasons to disable the default definitions. You have some template and you don't want changes to the default definitions affect your template, then you can cherry pick just this functionality using a built-in snippet called Witico/glossaries. And here is an overview of what I already discussed earlier, where the use of explicit markup makes 2 changes. First, it updates the option acronyms, and it also adds the acronyms to the .aux file, so that in subsequent compilation runs, even abbreviations that precede the first markup occurrence are correctly formatted. So in conclusion, abbreviations require special treatment, but marking them up consistently can be difficult. And the purpose of this talk was to introduce new support for abbreviations in the Markdown package for TeX. Authors and editors can work independently to define a shared set of abbreviations, and the 2 approaches which I have shown, or the 3 approaches actually, the one using the option acronyms, the one using the glossaries package, the one using the explicit markup, all of these can be combined in the document so that the editor and author, they don't need to talk to each other, but they can collaborate to the desired end result, where all the abbreviations are correctly formatted throughout the document without anyone stepping on anyone else's toes. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Vít, for the talk. Are there any questions in the room? Yes, Max?
I need that one.
You want that one, okay.
Hi, yes, it's Max Chonoff. So for one of the slides, you gave the example of APIs, like the plural. So, and then you also, I thought that you said that you don't match the middle of the word. So that APIs example, how would that work?
Yeah, so you would need to type acronyms equals API, comma, APIs.
Okay.
Like the package is, it's language agnostic, so we don't want to have special rules for for plurals in English.
And then if you want the S to not be small cap, oh, sorry. And then if you want that S to be not, oh, sorry, yeah. If you want the S to not be in small caps, but just like the A, P, and the I to be in small caps, how would that work?
Well, the Markdown package is like a Lego. So this just produces an acronym node, which you can redefine. By default, it just does the simple thing. It uses spaced small caps for the whole for the whole word, but you can add your own logic into how it's rendered.
Thank you.
So further questions? Carl?
I can talk loud enough without that. Vít, a couple more slides in, you showed the output with the heading glossaries. A couple more, one more maybe. There we go. The HTML and the YAML underneath acronyms do not look like they've been applied, acronized. Is that intentional?
Yeah, that's just how the glossaries package does it by default. So I expect the author to configure the glossaries package. I think that's outside the scope of what the Markdown package does.
Okay, there was one more question.
Hi, I'm Marcel Krüger. Can you go to the slide with the LPAC parser? I was just wondering for the first one why the L is duplicated for both cases. So you have HTML and then HTML5 and the L is separately present for both. Is there some reason for that or just some implementation detail?
Yeah, I mean, it's the parser is automatically generated, right? And the idea is to match HTML5 before you try to match HTML. So you're trying to match the longest possible acronym first. So that's why it's repeated. The PEG parser first tries HTML5, and when it fails, it backtracks and tries HTML.
I was just wondering why the L is not outside of the parentheses.
There's an extra L at the end.
Right after 5.
Surrounded by parentheses, but you could factor out the L and have 5 plus nothing.
After 5.
You mean this one? Yeah. So it's either L followed by 5, and if this fails, it retries this. So you think it could be parenthesized differently?
No, L could be after the right paren.
No.
It couldn't, right? Because it tries the different lines. Each line is for a different acronym, so it needs to be parenthesized.
Why is there an extra L at the end?
Just give me a second.
It's an or.
So, who wants?
Why is there an extra L at the end? Because you have HTML5L.
Yeah, well, there is a star, which is concatenation, and there is a plus, which is alternation. So it's either HTML5, or if the match fails, it tries HTML. That's why.
So, okay, Paul has another question.
So can you go back again to the glossaries slide?
To which slide?
To the glossary slide,
Okay.
or any of these. So it looked to me like in the code, maybe it's even clearer on the previous one, whichever, but in the code it looked like HTML and YAML are being acronized in the code that you're showing, not in the output.
Yeah.
But ordinarily you would not want to put acronyms in code listings. So the question is, can the package not apply the acronym in certain cases?
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah. In my slides, I formatted all the occurrences of the acronyms. The package doesn't do that. So I said that it formats the acronyms even in places where markup is usually not allowed, such as image titles, but within verbatim text, no, there's no acronyms, no worries.
Are there further questions? Yes, Eric. Long way to go to Eric. So here you go.
I was wondering if there could also be another, like not acronym, but maybe macros, for example, for LaTeX or context or those kind of stuff. Because every Markdown file I recognize by LaTeX not being typesetted properly.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I was wondering whether I should add another slide for this. So thanks for reading my mind. Yes, I mean this. It was easy to do in the Markdown package for TeX because it's like a closed ecosystem, so it's easy to add. But not just a macro. You could use in LaTeX. You could even intercept the individual lines of the input, and even have the part where the markup is implicit, like in the Markdown package. You could have some issues if the abbreviation is split across several lines, because LPAC, as far as I'm aware, the LPAC, which is the library used for parsing, requires the input to be a string. It can't work in an incremental fashion. I know that there is some LPAC implementation in pure Lua, so I suppose you could adapt that to have some incremental LPAC parsing library, and in which case you could track the abbreviations from across multiple lines and correctly format even that. So yeah, I think there is definitely space for LaTeX, Lua LaTeX package like this, which would automatically format acronyms that would be completely independent on the Markdown package for TeX.
So there's a further question, Ulrike.
What do you do if you want one occurrence not to be marked up as an acronym?
Yeah, there is in the default definitions for LaTeX. There is currently no provision for this, but you can redefine what all the class name attributes mean. So you could have a special one called no acronym, which would locally redefine the acronym node renderer to do nothing or something like that. It's easy to add, but by default we don't have any special provisions for that.
Okay, are there any further questions? Well, Boris has none, I already asked them. So thanks a lot for your interesting talk. So the next guy we have the honor to listen is a former musician, now doing something